Right, it's been a while since I've done a video, but I wanted to explain about how to do a belt change on a Haas TM1. This is the Haas. Other day had an issue. A Z crash basically led to the spindle no longer turning. The motor runs fine, but the spindle doesn't turn. Also, when you spin the spindle by hand, the control doesn't sense any movement, so it means that it's obviously not picking up off the encoder on the motor anymore. So it's relatively straightforward to do. I had to order a new belt from Haas. You can get the part number relatively straightforward. You give them your number off the back of your machine and they tell you what part you need. It was 136 quid including shipping for a belt, which is quite a lot. I'm sure you can get them cheaper, but I just needed to get it quick and know it was the right part basically, so that I'm not going to have any further issues because I need to crack on. So in terms of the process to change the belt, what you have to do is first of all you have to take off the sheet metal work which sits on front of the spindle. I've just lifted it up out of the way there, but basically that is dropped down over here. There was a number of small American sized Imperial Allen head, this sort of thing. So you undo, there's about, actually no, the smaller ones on the sides, it's these little small ones on the sides. There's about 6 on each side and a large one, and a 6 on the other side and a large one. And then you get a little step ladder, you stand on top. I've basically lowered my Z right down onto some blocks of wood just to support it, because I wasn't sure if I had to drop the spindle or not, but I don't. Now I've seen what you have to do. Yeah, so lowered the Z right down, got a pair of step ladders, got up there and took the fan off the top, which is this. This draws the air through the spindle from the bottom to the top and keeps the spindle cool and the motor cool. So you lift that out of the way. Once you've done that, you can then lift the sheet metal completely up. Now it's a bit difficult to lift just because it's caught on a few things, specifically the grease nipples on the side there that grease the Z linear ways and rails. So you have to lift them round those two holes because the nipples are sticking out the side, and then you can lift the sheet metal up and above and over. The only thing you have to watch out for is that cable, which is the tool release button, which sits on the front of the sheet metal. So normally it's about here, and you press it and the tool releases. You don't want to ruin that wire, although it's got an awful lot of length to it. I mean, this isn't tight at all, as you can see, and it's, you know, sit on top, right on top of the mill. So plenty of spare cable there, and there's even some extra in a coil, which is just all looped around, ready to use. So once you've lifted the sheet metal up, you are then presented with this, and as you can see, this is the belt, and it's snapped. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can get cheaper versions of this. Actually, looking at it, it's nothing special at all. But anyway, I've bought the proper one for 136 quid now, so I may as well use it. It's coming on Monday. So what's next? You take the belt out, and basically you've got the spindle here, which I can't move because it's down on a piece of wood down here. On top of it is this arrangement, which is the tool release, which holds the, I think it's called a drawbar. I'm kind of new to all this, but I'm pretty sure it's called a drawbar. It looks like it's air actuated through some solenoids. So you have to release a couple of cables. So you release a couple of cables, and then you also release these compressed air tubes. You also have to gain clearance, you have to remove this, which is just a union, push fit union, which sits in here. So you just undo that, and then you can take that out of the way. The reason you need to take that out of the way is because there are these 4 bolts, and these 4 Allen head black bolts sit in here, like that, and connect this casting to the larger casting below. I connect therefore the power drawbar to the spindle housing, I suppose you'd call it. I was worried they were under tension because there's a big spring there. I'm not sure if you can see. Yeah, big spring there. And I was slightly concerned that if I undid these, it'd, you know, go into orbit, but it didn't, and I've still got my teeth, which is nice. So undo those 4 bolts, they're not under tension. Obviously make sure you release the air out of the system first before you undo those unions, and they're just push fit, so you just push the collar down and they pop out. Pretty straightforward. Once you do that, then I'll put those bolts back, sorry. Once you've done that, then this actually lifts off. Now it's still connected with a couple of cables, so I can't really move it out of the way very well, but you can see that now you have clearance to be able to get a belt over that. That's the spindle pulley, and behind it is the motor pulley. So by lifting that out of the way, you can now hopefully fit the new belt. Now it doesn't come till Monday. Today's Saturday afternoon. Ordered it on Friday, so I'm hoping next day shipping will mean Monday. It might mean Tuesday. It doesn't strike me as too complicated a job. But I believe what you have to do is lift this out of the way, and I'll bring some bungee cord or something to hold this up out of the way safely. Or I might just disconnect it. I'm just a bit worried I might not be able to figure out which wire goes in where, because there's quite a few around that area. But assuming I can figure it out, I'll move it, or I'll just suspend it by bungee cord out the way, and then it's simply a case of placing the new belt over the top, around the motor pulley, which is back there, hooking it around the back, and then dropping it over the top of here. Now I don't think it's going to go on immediately, because I think it's going to be under tension, so I don't think I'm going to be able to stretch it round. I believe what you do is you undo these. Let me go to the side, it'll probably be easy for you to see. These 4 motor mounts, 1, 2, and then there's another 2 on the other side, the same large Allen head, black bolts. You undo those, and apparently the motor can then move. It's not secured any more than that, so you move those 4 bolts. You don't remove them, you just loosen them, and then you move the motor towards the front of the machine by pulling it towards. You can then fit the belt on appropriately, and then you use some sort of tool that mounts onto these holes here. And what you do is, that tool is a threaded bar essentially, sitting on it. So there's a bar with 2 holes in it, and a threaded element in the middle, and a threaded bar that runs through it, and you twist the threaded bar, which pushes the motor back, therefore tensioning the belt, which is sitting between the motor and the front pulley. So you tighten it up until it's got tension, and if you have these bolts with a little bit of torque on them, not too much, I think it said 7 or 8 foot-pounds, so not a lot at all. It's just enough so that they grab, and therefore you can then snug them. You can then adjust it and test it, and adjust it and test it. Once it's about right, you can then snug these motor mount bolts down. Sorry. Resecure here, and then either drop the sheetwork or leave it up, and test the spindle. Obviously, with different speeds, it'll stretch and move the belt around a bit. The idea is that you get the right tension for a range of speeds. Now you can use a special tool for that. It's got some sort of gauge that you clip onto the belt, and it senses the tension in the belt. I don't think that's necessary, to be honest. I'm pretty sure you can use your finger and just sort of push and feel the tension in the belt till it feels about appropriate, and then that'll probably do. I can faff with this all day, and I'll still be saving an absolute fortune compared to how much Haas wanted to do the work themselves. They wanted 10 hours labour, including driving time, which is madness. Would have worked out about £1,000 to change a belt, so I could faff with this all day and still feel like I'm quids in. So I can repeat this process and tension it and retension it until it's about right, just through trial and error. But even Haas's own video on their Haas DIY YouTube service tech videos shows that it's much easier to use the deflection of the belt as a measure rather than some sort of strain gauge in the belt. So that's what I'll be doing. So waiting for the belt to arrive. Should be here on Monday or Tuesday, so I'll bring you back as and when I get around to doing the fitment, and we'll see how we get on. Hope you enjoy. Cheers, bye.